All right, hello, my friends. Let's get back to the meat and potatoes. Let's get back to the foundations that the Appleknocker radio was built on. Let's get back to the esoteric, the mystical, the spiritual, the hermetic, the alchemical. Specifically, let's discuss the Four Aims by Mark Stavish. The lighting makes it so you can't see that so great, but the Four Aims, Jupiter and Daily Living. Now, Mark Stavish, most anyone out there who is interested in these topics will be familiar with the books that Mark has published, largely with Inner Traditions. He's got some incredible, just really beautiful books that came out with Inner Traditions, which I think is the best publisher in the genre, in the sphere. But this book is kind of unassuming, right? It's part of the Institute for Hermetic Studies series. It's a simpler book. It's more simply bound. Obviously, the graphics are simpler, and the book itself is it's actually a transcribed lecture series that Mark did. I'm actually not sure about the details. I just know it's a transcription of a lecture series they did, which in many ways is like probably the most remarkable thing about the book. Anyway, so I bought the book. I have most of Mark's books at this point. And by the way, Mark, Mark Stavish, I've gotten a couple comments from people who think that I've seen people on other boards and I've seen people on my channel who have opined that Mark, some people have called him arrogant and things like this. What I can say is back when this channel I had like probably 50 subscribers, Mark Stavish agreed to come on and be a guest on this channel and gave what still remains my favorite interview of all time. He gave me his time, and so I'm not exactly sure why some people out there are kind of put off by Mark, but whatever. It's your prerogative, it's your life, and maybe you're seeing something that I'm not seeing. But all I'm saying is that, in my opinion, not only is Mark a genius of the esoteric sphere, but he's also just a good dude. And I will always appreciate the fact that he came on this channel. And if you haven't watched that interview, you should go check it out. But anyway, so this book, unassuming little book. I'm at 2:30. I'm determined to get this thing done fast. And I don't want to give a lot of spoilers. Unassuming little book. If you've ever listened to Mark talk, one of the things about when he talks is he has so much knowledge, right? That he will be talking about a specific topic, but in talking about that topic, he'll just conversationally throw out, just like drop these bombs, these pearls of wisdom and historical knowledge and philosophical insight. And, when you're listening to him, to me personally, anytime I'm watching one of his videos or watching a lecture or anything like that, I'm always like scribbling notes. And if you're like me, like when I scribble, I always scribble so fast. It's like I'm writing in a foreign language and I can't even read it later. It's like I'm writing in Farsi or something. I don't speak Farsi. And so I love this book because it gives me a chance. All of those little wisdom bombs that he drops, they're printed, right? So I can read them. But so I bought this book just thinking, I'll give this a quick read in between reading the heavier books that I read. But this book ended up seriously. There is something about this that helped me really grasp and conceptualize a lot of concepts that I had previously been finding really difficult to grasp. And I don't know about any of you out there who are interested in these topics, but I always tend to find my readings of these more esoteric and fringe kind of topics, it's harder for me to retain information for some reason. It's not like I'm also studying information technology right now. And I feel a very systematic progress through that, right? Like I earned this certificate, earned that certificate. I'm working my way up right now to the CompTIA A+ certificate, which is a biggie. And I feel a very systematic approach, and I feel very grounded, and I feel very solid. Like, okay, I've got this. Now it's time to move up to the next step. I've never felt that way when I'm studying these hermetic topics, alchemical topics, or any of these things. I always feel like I'm just kind of floundering in the sea. And something about this book, it's not just that I don't want to give spoilers, it's also that I can't even pinpoint one specific area, though I am going to go into one concrete thing in just a moment. Just give me one moment to keep rambling for a minute. It was just the overall experience of the book. It just made a lot of things click in my mind. And I just suddenly was like, oh, wait a minute. All of those little disparate pieces of knowledge that I had gained, it kind of like they accreted. It was like, wait, all right, I see that central point of gravity. Like I understand that central point of gravity that's holding these together. And it's something that's really hard to state, I guess, because it's even kind of hard to intellectualize. It's more of like a feeling. But like the four aims, Jupiter and daily living, just made something click in my mind. The concrete thing that I want to talk about is, and this goes to one of the things that I love about the Hermetic and kind of alchemical perspective on things, is that you can believe in them literally, which is, it's largely based, and it also goes into astrology, which I'm actually not real big into astrology, which I think is maybe kind of like heretical in people who are interested in these kind of topics. I don't know why. I'm just not. But and so you have the planetary energies. And so you could look at it in one way, which is that they literally represent these different energetic forces of the cosmos, which are reflected inside of us, right? So inside of us, we are all also composed of these planetary energies, which represents different parts of our consciousness or our soul, of our being, however you want to say it. But you can use these things. You could be a materialist, I believe, and still gain psychological insight from the way that the planetary forces are conceptualized and how they represent aspects of the human psyche. And that's one of the things I really find fascinating about hermeticism and alchemy and all of that kind of sphere of thinking. And I guess astrology as well. It bleeds out into astrology. I just think that's really neat. And that is something in this book, he talks about the way that the planetary energies work is always kind of confusing and weird to me. It seemed kind of ambiguous, largely because I didn't really understand. Like people say that like the certain planets have these certain like energetic essences. But outside of like really Mars, I think Mars is like the most clear one. Like Mars is just there to smash shit, right? Although actually, you know what? After reading this book, I realized it's not quite that simple. But the other ones, I'd kind of look at them and was like, I really don't understand. Like they all kind of seem basically the same. Like they lord over so many different things. To me, it was almost like they overlapped, and it just didn't really make sense to me. And but like I understand it now. I understand it firmly because of this book. And one of the things, I'm a huge goal setter, right? This way precedes my interest in esoteric topics. I don't really like functioning without a daily to-do list and without 3-month goals, 6-month goals, 1-year goals, 5-year goals. It's how I live, and it's how I love to live, man. I love it. And something that I think is so cool in the Four Aims is that Mark advises the students to segment their own goals according to the different planetary energies. And I love that, and that is what made it click in my mind, maybe understandably, because I am somebody who loves goal setting and kind of an organized, structured way of living. That is probably the thing that most made me go, oh man, I get it, dude. I get it. Like now I really get it. And so he talks about how, like Mars is it's war, but it's also physical vitality, it's health, it's fitness. Right? And so you can make Mars goals. Getting your ass in shape, man. Get your ass in shape, people. We all need to be in shape. We all need to be in shape. The best shape that we can be. And then into Venus, which is like an aspect I realized through reading this book. I'm much more of a Mars kind of guy. And I realized like there's like a Venus deficiency. And I'm saying that kind of smirking, but like really, seriously. I read it and realized I'm like missing Venus, and I always, when I would read that in these books, I was like, Venus, that's such a bunch of flowery crap, man. I don't want anything to do with that. But then reading the book helped me understand what that aspect of my mind is, of my being, and of the cosmos, like what that is. And it's more than just the flowery stuff. And even if it is flowery stuff, we need some flowery stuff in our lives at some point, right? We kind of need the balance of these different forces. And so, I used to segment my goals. I used to have financial goals, fitness goals, relationship goals, learning goals, career goals. Now, after Mark advised this, I break my goals down into the planetary energies. And man, it's been really cool. It's really opened up a very new perspective for me, which is, and because this kind of goal-setting, structured way of living is so just native to my being, it's fun and it's exciting. It's like a new way for me to implement this strategic way of going through life, is segmenting these things according to planetary energies. And in that is my spiritual pursuits, which in the past it was always kind of difficult for me to figure out how to put those into my goal setting procedures. In some of the ways, actually kind of funny as an aside, like I have my daily tracker of habits that I have, and in there, sometimes I find this amusing to myself, because one of the things I have in there is say the Jesus prayer. But here's something I will tell you when you do that, because the reason why I find it funny is because you feel like, well, like spirituality should kind of be outside that sphere, right? But all I can say is that by regimenting myself to every day say the Jesus prayer, it hasn't cheapened it. It's opened up some really amazing experiences, because there's been a lot of times where it's like, dude, I don't really want to do this. All right, go in. You go in, and then once I get there, it's like, well, I'm not gonna half-ass this, right? I mean, this is the Jesus prayer. I'm not messing around with this. Get yourself centered. And then a lot of times, a lot of those days where I just really didn't feel like doing it, end up being like, bam, man. And I'd have a really, really powerful experience. Not always pleasant. The experiences of the Jesus prayer are actually rarely present, but that's not the point. It's not the point of the Jesus prayer. But anyway, and so regimenting those things is actually works maybe better than, it might be a little counterintuitive by how well that works. But anyway, because of the 4 aims, I was able to expand the way the daily practices that I have. And man, it's real. I always start, well, not always, most of these videos I start with a 5-minute time frame in mind, 12 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up. What I'm going to say, in short, this book is, this has a lot of bang for the buck. It may be a little book. It may seem kind of unassuming, but this is a incredibly worthwhile read. I can't stress that enough. I would recommend this book to anybody who is interested in these topics, whether you are interested from the perspective of a practitioner or purely from the perception of somebody who's just intellectually interested, from like a historical, philosophical, just curiosity perspective, which is really mainly where I come from with it. And so I just can't recommend it highly enough. And I notice a lot of his other books, and rightly, they get a lot more exposure because they're, bigger and more impressive books, and they're put together better, and they're coming out of inner traditions and such. But I'm telling you, man, this little book, this will pop you, man. This will get you. It's a dang good book, and yeah. That's all I can say. Check it out. Read it. I highly recommend it. And if you do happen to check it out, please drop me a message in the comment board. Let me know how the book worked for you. And I hope it has a similarly positive and beneficial effect to you as well. I sincerely mean that. All right. Thank you, my friends. Peace out.